Alright, so I'm just going to start this video by saying that this might end up being all over the place or kind of ranty, and that's just kind of how this video is going to be. This is kind of a subject for me that I'm passionate about, okay? I like Honkai Star Rail. I've been playing it since launch. I've enjoyed every moment I've played of it, the story, everything. So I want this game to be fun. I want it to be good. I want it to last for years. And this current power creep issue is it's just frustrating for me. Now, if you've been playing Honkai Star Rail or if you've been around the community recently, you've probably noticed that this game has gotten harder, but not in a good way. The end game modes being Memory of Chaos, Pure Fiction, Apocalyptic Shadows, they're pretty prevalent in, regards to having content to do on a regular basis that at least you can use your characters with, outside of Simulated Universe, of course. But with Memory of Chaos specifically, it's become more and more noticeable how much the stats have increased over the patches over the year and a half that we've been playing the game. This game does power creep horrendously. I despise it. I do not like it. It does not try to be unique with it. It just increases the stats, and it's bloating stats is not a fun way to make a game harder. It's a good way to start, adding stats to enemies that are maybe older, but after a certain point, it just becomes boring, redundant, and just stupid and forced difficulty. It's not it's not real, especially in a gacha game when you are incentivized to buy new characters over time, especially ones that are stronger than previous ones, which is a given. Power creep's going to be in any gacha game. But some games do it better than others, and Honkai Star Rail is shit. It's not good. Characters should not be falling out of viability this hard and this fast. 1.0 characters like Seele are miles behind the current roster, and it's not even funny. Just compare Seele's ultimate to a character like Fei Xiao's ultimate. They're both hunt characters. She basically does double her damage. And the game's been out for like a year. That's insane. We have gacha games that have been out for 5 years plus and that do not even have power creep as this much of an issue. Many gacha games that exist still after many years still have a lot of their early days or early start characters being viable and usable in their own way. Sure, they've probably been power creeped and there's probably better characters, but they're still usable. Imagine trying to use Seele right now, E0, S0, or even E0, S1 Seele on the current Memory of Chaos floor. That is ridiculous. You're not clearing the swarm in less than 5 cycles, I'm not convinced. Unless you have hyper investment in your supports, like your Robin or something like that, it's just not happening. The way this game is going is you're just going to need to keep pulling the newer characters more and more over time, and they're going to keep pandering the endgame modes, buffs or debuffs to the new character coming out. Eventually, certain characters will just not be able to clear content. Unless you have like hyper investment with getting a bunch of Eidolons or your supports Eidolons. And I think that's not okay. I should not be seeing ice weakness on floor 12 and not being able to clear with Jingliu in a fast enough time. That's ridiculous. I tried doing that floor, focusing the Trotters, not focusing the Trotters, hitting the enemies and sort of killing the Trotters. It doesn't matter. In my Jingliu, I've invested in her hard. I don't go for Eidolons because I think those are stupid, and I just don't like getting extra copies of characters in my gacha games. I think that should not be a necessity. It should not be required. You should not feel like you need to get multiple copies of a character. These games are about diversifying your roster, collecting characters. Like, I should not be having to go all in on one character only for them to get power crept anyway. Like, it's stupid. If you want to compare it to a game like Arknights and how they do power creep, there are obviously characters that are better than others. I mean, just look at one of the newest ones, Wizadel. I mean, it's not even funny how disgustingly broken she is. She just blows things up, right? She is just a walking nuke. You hit the funny button, she does the funny thing, she blows everything up, everything's dead. But the game is not getting so exponentially harder where it's like you feel obligated to use Wizadel. Now, you can use her and it's probably like, you know what, it's like a nice way to make the game easier for yourself if you want that. But if you're not, it's not like if you're not using Wizadel, the game's unplayable, you can't do it. There's people clearing this crap online with 3 stars, 4 stars, or just using whatever frickin' characters they want. That's why the term niche knights became a thing. There's so many characters in the game, people just want to play it in their own way. And that's awesome. That's fun. That makes a game like worthwhile to play. It's not fun when you pull these characters you like and then they're power crept a patch later or a few patches later. The only reason why a character like Seele is still even considering being used is because there's no other quantum DPS that is a Destruction or Hunt, or I guess soon to be Remembrance too, that is out yet. They've just been holding out on that for whatever reason. The only other Quantum DPS we have that's a 5-star is Jade, but she's not going to be soloing freaking Memory of Chaos. That's not happening. And Shui Yi, I mean, she's a 4-star. She might do a similar or a little bit more damage than Zila, but even that, it also doesn't compete. And that's a whole separate issue. 4-stars just feel useless in this game after a certain point. Like, don't get me wrong, you can probably still get away with using them if you try hard enough, but it's so much, the juice is not worth the squeeze on it. Like, I'm sure Honkai Star Rail could keep making money for another few years by doing what they're doing, but over time, they're just going to keep losing players over this, because it's even casuals are complaining about how it's like there's so many characters to pull, or they feel like they need to pull, or they need to keep up with, or a lot of their older characters just aren't doing it. And sure, maybe there's people that they don't know how to build, or they don't know how to stop themselves from pulling, right? They're being greedy, whatever. But like, people wouldn't be feeling like that if these characters weren't feeling worse, or the game wasn't getting so stat bloated to make them feel this way. You know what I mean? Like, it's just incredibly annoying. I was losing it in my Discord the other day when I was playing floor 12 and trying to like just have fun. I just wanted to clear it with my Jing Liu, and I still haven't. I want to try to maybe go for it again, but it's just so painful to even attempt. Like, I mean, look at this. I'm literally crashing, and so much of it is intentional too, this power creep. Look at Clara, and then look at Yunli. In what world did they feel it was necessary to make basically Clara, but better? Why did they do that? That did not need to happen. There's so many element and path combinations that we still don't have, and even if you want to make another physical destruction character, why are they exactly the same, just with a little bit more player agency with how the ultimate counters work? She is basically Clara, but you can play around with her ult a bit more. She is a counter physical destruction character. Am I insane? What was the reason for this? And don't even get me started on just the redundancy of similar elements, similar paths so soon. We just got Jiao Shou for Acheron, Fire Nihility, and then we just got Ting Yun, or Fugue, 5-star Ting Yun, whatever. Also Fire Nihility. Obviously, they play completely two different roles, but it feels gross. It feels not fun, not great when it's like we just got a Fire Nihility 2-3 patches ago, and now we're getting another one. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, with the new Remembrance path coming, it's going to shake things up. We're going to get a new way to play. We're going to have summons and all this. It's going to be a new path. Awesome, great. And I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also just dreading the idea of like, oh, great. This is going to be the meta for 3.0. Sunday's going to rock. Aglia's going to be great. I'm sure Castoris will be broken. But then it's like 4.0, the same thing will happen. Whether they introduce a new path or not, there's just going to be a new, better DPS. And if you're not using them, it's going to feel garbage. Look at Acheron. She came out and it shattered what we expected from a DPS. 2, 3, maybe patches later, and she felt still good to use, but no longer like she was breaking records. It's a little bit obscene. Anyways, what could they do to maybe fix this issue? Well, if we look at Arknights again, right? Look at how they handle their older units. The module system. What a great frickin' system, dude. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a nice thing to have. It incentivizes going for older characters, giving them something down the line to make them feel new again, or not even really new, but better, reinvigorated them so they feel like they can keep up with current characters. Perfect example that comes to mind is Exusiai. She's going to be getting a new module in Global at some point that gives her armor pen or armor shred, like a flat armor shred or something like that. Defense shred, I mean. That's great. That's her biggest weakness, is that enemies with armor just stonewall her. Now, is it going to completely take away the issue? No, and I don't think it should, but it's going to make her a more viable option into more levels, into more enemies, so she can keep up and do her fast, quick DPS into more enemies, instead of just being a niche pick for enemies with little to no armor. Now she can kind of, compete a bit. Some characters live and thrive off their modules. Sometimes they're built with them in mind. Sometimes getting them completely reshapes them, and when you build them, you want to make sure you get the module, right? Honkai Star Rail can probably do something similar. Now, it doesn't have to be the same thing like modules, but give something to buff them. Give something to Zila. Maybe put it in a new trace tree or something, or like a secondary trace tree that gives her maybe some more stats to keep up, or an extra, like a new passive, something just to make her feel like she can keep up with characters like Fei Xiao or the break characters, etc. Like, you could also just slow down how quickly we're increasing the stats of everything. If you want to make the new characters stronger, you can do that, but why does it have to be such a massive gap every time? Like, does the next DPS really have to be miles ahead of the previous one? Do we have to do this every time? But even so, we go back to slowing down the increase of stats, or just doing it differently, maybe adding new mechanics or something, because this honestly wouldn't even be that big of an issue if the game wasn't getting harder with the new character. Because like I said, look at Arcanines. Their old characters can still be freaking used. You can still use lesser, characters with lesser strength and clear current content. So maybe Honkai should change how they see difficulty. Instead of just juicing the stats, add some more mechanics to play around with so it doesn't just feel like a stat check. Maybe add more enemies that prevent themselves from being weakness broken, so you can't always just use a weakness break team. Maybe enemies change weakness type, so it's like you might go in with a certain team, but then things flip on their head. Or you could add synergistic effects between the elements, add like a combination system or like a synergy system. Maybe it'll incentivize you using older characters with new ones, like, a Quantum Hunt with a Ice Harmony or something. Like, do something, because it's getting old, and it's getting old fast. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to want to play a game where it literally is just get the new character and win. That's not fun forever. I love the story. I want to keep playing this game. I love everything about this game except how they handle power creep. It's disgusting. It's predatory. I don't like it. I know people have recently shared their thoughts on how, you can mitigate it and how you can be smarter with your pulls, etc. That's great, but the core of the issue is with the company and how they are deciding to go about this. You can mitigate it all you want. It doesn't make it any less fucking stupid or dumb to deal with. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. Anyways, I think I kind of said everything I want to say. I apologize again for being so ranty. Like the video if you like it. Join the Discord. We have a lot of fun over there. Subscribe to me for more, and I'll see you on the next one.